What's going on, everyone? This is Griever back here, bringing you guys the latest behind the bar reviews for 7 Deadly Sins, chapter 322. Alright, let's get underway with this one because a lot of people are going to complain about this chapter. A lot of people are going to drop the series like they did in the last chapter. People are going to be dropping it in this chapter. And you know what? This chapter itself, what did it really do wrong? On a standalone basis, what did this chapter do wrong that we didn't already know? Argue your power scaling way back in chapter 300 when Bond took on the Demon King. Argue your power scaling problems way back then. Or even further back when Merlin pulled some Pokemon type bullshit and did that to Chandler and Cusack. Argue your power scaling issues back then. Don't blame anything that's happening now. Are you still following the series? You still watching my reviews? You still keeping up with everything? Then do not blame Escanor. Don't even blame the Demon King, which, in my perspective, the villains, the Center of the Endor and the Demon King, are at the most fault for screwing up the power scaling. It's the antagonists, it's the villains that have screwed up the power scaling format. But nonetheless, at this point, if you came this far and now you're going to drop it, really? Now? I've been toting power scaling problems for back in 2018. It's 2019. It's the middle of 2019. So I don't want to hear it anymore. I just don't care. I don't want to hear it. Because this chapter as a standalone was fine. In fact, it had a little bit of information. We're getting some character appearances. We're getting some good stuff. And even the title, When You Call My Name. Now that's a translation that I got, and I'm reminded of a very good song. When you call my name, it's like a little prayer. But at the end of the day, this beginning of this chapter, it starts off at the end of 321 where, of course, the big hubla, the big thing, the big cheese, the thing that everybody was all, oh, how did this happen sort of idea, right? Escanor blocking the Demon King's sword, and everyone lost their shit, right? Now, Grim Reaper had a Boar's Hat podcast, a little bit last minute sort of idea, and I had to drop out very early out of it because it was unscheduled, it was unprecedented, blah, blah, blah. So, still shout out to the Boar's Hat podcast, but a downvote for you, Grim, for pulling that shit last minute on me. But, nonetheless, I toted a few theories as to how Escanor could have blocked the Demon King's sword and how he's using the one only techniques and abilities while not in the one form. Now, we'll get into that, I believe, at the end of the video. Why don't we talk about that at the end and we'll just go through the chapter, okay? So, if you guys aren't interested in any of that, you can just watch the rest of the video, you can see the review, what I thought of the chapter, and then we'll talk about the possibilities of Escanor's power scan not being too screwed up. I mean, the power scan is still screwed, but at the very least, I got a little bit of headcanon for all of you. So, that being said, okay, so Escanor starts the chapter with a poem. It's not a very good poem. I expected better, but that could be translation, that could be Nakaba's writing. Once again, he's basically saying, I'm here to defend the 7 heroes, and we're all together once again, and I'll gladly lay down my life for them. That's basically what the poem is saying. Demon King asks, who are you, sort of idea, and Meliodas basically looks at him and says, Escanor, you can't stay in this form, you know better and stuff. Escanor looks back, says, Captain, gets just shot by the Demon King, sort of idea, and then he pulls a Divine Spear Escanor. Once again, Divine Spear being the move in the one form he used against Zeldris. He uses this outside of the one form, and boom! And the Demon King takes some actual damage by the looks of it. Then the Demon King once again uses some God Divine Slash, this sort of idea, and we see Escanor is actually messed up by this attack, but still on his feet, right? Now, he also says things like, a cheap shot like that won't work on me, sort of idea, and then he uses Divine Sword Escanor, and boom! So we see both of the moves we know that only the one Escanor has used thus far, and he's used them. We also see Mael up high, basically looking down, going, Escanor and 7 Deadly Sins, it's all up to you guys, because Against that monster, I can't do anything. And once again, this is proving that Mile is just a coward, because we can all agree that Escanor and Mile, right? They have the same power, called Sunshine. But Mile is an archangel. Right now, Mile is not as weak as Nighttime Escanor. We can all agree on that, right? So that would lead into the fact that if he had Sunshine, he could do the exact same thing Escanor is doing right now, if not better. Yet Mile, once again, will even stand there after seeing the block of the sword, after seeing Divine Spear and Divine Sword. He's still going to sit there and tote that he can't do anything against that demon. Mile is the problem. The villains and Mile are the reason the power scaling is screwed. Merlin was always screwed. Merlin was always a Deus Ex problem. But honestly, it's not on any of the sins. It's not on Escanor. It's not on Bond. It's not on Meliodas. It's not on any of them. It's not even on Elizabeth. It's on the Demon King, the Sinner of the Endora, so the villains of this arc, and Mile. They have caused the power scaling to be screwed up. Without Mile's ridiculous statements that don't actually add up to facts, and the Demon King's feats being just blatantly shown wrong from what we've been told, without any of that, everything would be fine. So, I don't understand this. I don't get any of this. Point of the matter is, Escanor kicks ass right here, right? Escanor kicks some ass, and he even says, cheap shots like that won't work on me. Cracks his neck. He's ready to go. He's divine. So he's like killing a god. That's what the burning out the end of one's life is all about, So he admits that he's going to burn out the rest of his life, pun intended, sunshine, sun, blah, 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 the grace. He's going to burn out the last of his life force. Deanne doesn't look as stupid as in the mistranslation at the beginning, when we first got this chapter dropped today, where she said, dying? What do you mean you're dying, Escanor? Well, dying is pretty concrete, Deanne, whatever. But here, he says it a little differently, so blah, blah, blah. Now, this is where he basically says, Captain, Gother, do your thing, go save your brother, otherwise I might accidentally end up killing the Demon King. So, we didn't get the line that I predicted. We did not get the thing about, having the 4 set, he had the triple set with the 3 sons, stepson sort of idea in the midst of that, but we didn't get a line like that about the Demon King or about parentage or anything, but he did say something prideful, I might accidentally end up killing this bitch right now. So, that's awesome. That's hilarious. I love it. I love Escanor's pride. I love his character. Once again, I don't blame Escanor for the power scaling. I blame the villains. I'm blaming the villains. So, and Nakaba. Don't blame Escanor. I don't blame him. So, that being said, here we see that Bond and King and everyone, they're working as well. We see King do some action. He's using increase. We see Bond kicking the Demon King and stuff up when he's about to attack Escanor again after Escanor's alright, Gother, Meliodas, Captain, do your thing. Go save your brother. I'll try to hold him off sort of idea. And it's all pretty epic, right? After this, of course, we see Meliodas and Gother jump into the mind of the Demon King. They manage the shot, they manage the time, they jump into the mind of the Demon King, and boom, we're into that mind zone. Now here in the last part of the chapter, what we end up getting is, as I said, Meliodas and Gother, they jump into the mind zone. The mind zone, the soul world, the mind world of the Demon King, that plane, the mental plane that Gother did last time against the Demon King back in chapter 300, right? So they jump in there, and Meliodas instantly recognizes this place as the place that they used to hunt dragons, the dragon's hunting ground or something, that he used to take Zeldris to go hunt, apparently, dragons, I guess dragons are a thing now, whatever. But suffice to say, Gother basically gives us a bunch of exposition that we did not need, because it's basically he's explaining away what happened in the first fight against the Demon King with Meliodas' Bond sort of idea. And he's basically explaining what they're doing now is the exact same thing they did before, and everything that the fans summarized is true. He's basically just exposition dumping. It's basically our voices and our souls can reach him, but our actions can't do anything. We can't directly interfere, and if we go too far, we will actually be taken away from this world, right? Though that little part is a little iffy in my perspective because the Demon King clearly wanted all of them gone back then, but Meliodas, this being his body, he managed to stick with them and keep them there until he used Trillion Dark. So, what? I mean, it sort of makes sense because we saw what Gother's talking about with Mile and the Four Commandments in his mental zone. But in this case, it's, once again, we didn't really see that in the Demon King fight, so it's fine to bring it up because there is, precedent for it. But, I'm a little iffy about it. Suffice to say, kind of a waste of exposition, a waste of time. They show up, they find the Demon King in Gelda form. Once again, sorry everyone in the Discord, sorry to prove you all wrong, or at least the ones toting the highest. Zeldris was sucking on those daddy titties. Sorry, that's what he was doing. That is the Demon King wearing Gelda skin. Did nobody see Men in Black, ladies and gentlemen? Jesus, I know it's an older movie, but it's not that old. It's older than, it's younger than I am, so it's not that old. I'm not that old. I don't have gray hairs yet, no. Never mind. The point is that is definitely the Demon King. As we saw, it's the exact same thing with the Meliodas mental battle, except the Demon King tried to hide himself in a Gelda skin, in a bodysuit, in a Gigai from Bleach. That's what he did. It's clearly him, because Meliodas and Gother stop by, they see Zeldris all wrapped up in a round web sort of idea, and he's like, well, sort of idea is Meliodas. So now we're going to get, this should be cool. I don't mind the confrontation talk between the Demon King Gelda and Meliodas. I think this will be kind of a cool speech. It'll be good dialogue. I'm waiting for that. Rest of the chapter, we see Bon and King and Escanor doing the bulk of the work. Escanor getting one good boom shot in. Love that. Love Escanor. Love everything he's doing. And then we see Gelda here noticing outside of it, it's still in her darkness bubble, right? Because if she saw the sunlight, right, and it's almost noontime, she would die. So she's encompassed in her darkness bubble. Whether the other people can notice her or see her in this darkness bubble, I mean, Merlin and someone on the level of Demon King should be able to, but of course right now they wouldn't notice it in the midst of battle. Regardless, she's there. She's noticing the monstrous presences. The blood is like being boom, like Escanor punches the Demon King. Blood out of the Demon King, far enough to reach her. She reaches up, she grabs a little bit of the blood off the rock, she licks it, she cringes. Once again, she hates being a vampire. Everyone's saying like, oh, Gelda's weird, Gelda's evil, Gelda's kinky. She's a vampire, guys. She's a vampire. Her whole thing is drinking blood. She already said she hated being a vampire. She wanted to die. She doesn't enjoy the blood life. She doesn't enjoy being a vampire. But she's able to tell, probably from drinking Zeldris blood before, or maybe that's a vampire trait. For all we know, once again, we don't have very much information about the vampires in Taizai. Once again, a Twilight vampire and a Vampire Diaries Twilighter and a Helsing vampire are three very separate differences of a triangle of the same species. So in this series, we don't actually know the extent of their abilities, whether they can just basically do a blood test, in their mouth or on their tongue and figure it out. So hard to say why, but she did, she grimaced, she cringed, even though she was like, Zel, there you are. So she knows that Zeldris, the Demon King, is Zeldris. So this will be a big thing. That's the end of the chapter. But I'm really excited because this is good, because we see Gelda be a proper character because she hated being a vampire. We see her licking blood and still hating it, but realizing it's the blood of her lover, and she's willing to go to him. So I'm really curious. There's some subtext about love and stuff, but I stopped reading the chapter titles and the subtext because it led me astray twice already with Nakaba being an asshole. So I ain't doing it anymore. I'm just not doing it, right? I'm just going to read the chapter verbatim and go through it like that. Now, that's the end of the chapter review. That's the end of the chapter. What do you guys all think? Love it, hate it. Please like, subscribe, comment. Now, we're just going to get into my couple of theories as to why Escanor was able to do what he did at the end of the last chapter and during this chapter. Why he was able to use the one techniques, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so if you just wanted to see the chapter review, blah, 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 you can skip this part. But if you're curious about my thoughts, here we go. Should be pretty short-lived. So, I already explained this on the Boar's Hat podcast. Go check that out. Pretty much, what I believe is that he's using the one techniques we only saw him doing during the one form. And if we were to take it on verbatim that Mal was right, Escanor was right, Meliodas was right, everybody is right, Ludishel was right, is that Sunshine has been killing Escanor this whole time. It should have broken him apart according to Ludishel. Like, this thing, he shouldn't have reached the age of 2, but this thing should have broken him apart, but it didn't. So, once again, I'm still on that little bit of meh, but if we take all what we've heard and seen and written to be true, Sunshine is killing Escanor. Escanor must have known this. He wasn't surprised by the coughing of the blood. He wasn't surprised when Mile told him that you should know your body better than anyone. You use Sunshine one more time, you're gonna die, right? So, given all that, I'm just under the impression that perhaps, Prideful Escanor knew it. Nighttime Escanor knew it. Maybe he could always use these ultimate techniques. Divine Sword, Divine Spear, Divine everything. He could use super, we didn't see a name for it, but we saw Mile do it, like coat his entire body and block Zeldris' sword. He could use all the abilities that Mile was using. He could use all the one abilities he's shown, but it's detrimental to his health. It's detrimental to his body, it's detrimental to his health, and it shortens his lifespan even more than Sunshine is doing already. Now, you can make the argument that he didn't know about the grace and stuff, but we know that according to Mile and according to what we've heard before, once again, there's more evidence against that. Not that he didn't know it was a grace, but that he knew Sunshine was killing him. We see at least 2 pieces of evidence of this over the 1. So I'm going to go with the 2, because 2/3 beats 1/3, right? So that leads me to believe that right now, during this fight, he's just going all out. He's using his life force. He's using 110% of Sunshine. That the fact of the matter is he could have always used these abilities outside of the one form, but they're detrimental to his health, detrimental to his body, and he chose not to use them knowing this factor. But when push came to shove, he knew he had to use the one against Meliodas and against Zeldris. So he knew he had to use them. Now, you can say a lot of the things about that, but that's just my belief. That's a bit of headcanon. As I said before in the review, when we were going to talk about this, it's a bit of headcanon, but it's an explanation and it's an excuse, but at least I'm goddamn giving you one. You know what I mean? Is it a great explanation? No. And should we be told this and have foreshadowing for it? Of course we should. But we should also have foreshadowing for a lot of things happening in Taizai right now that are just not happening. So I'm just giving you my thoughts, because this is unprecedented. Once again, Escanor is the exception, not the rule. We don't know how powerful he is right now. We don't know what Mile actually gave him, whether it was Sunshine plus some power, or if it was just Sunshine, or, because Mile looking up there and going, I can't do anything against that thing, when he's literally watching Escanor go toe-to-toe with the guy, makes no sense. These statements from Mile is really screwing everything up. So I'm kind of confused about that, but that's just basically my theory, ladies and gentlemen. I believe that Escanor, the one form right now, is like Escanor outside of the one, I should say, using the one's techniques means he's using 100% of Sunshine. He might have been always able to do this, but chose not to because of the detrimental effects, and that's why he's able to block the Demon King's sword, why he's able to do damage to the Demon King and actually go toe-to-toe. We see him taking damage, so it's not like he's pulling a Bond thing, which is even worse. But he's actually taking damage, but he's delivering similar blows. So when he reaches the one, I'm excited to see what's going to happen. That's it for the chapter, though, ladies and gentlemen, and end of the review. What do you guys all think? As I said before, like, comment, and subscribe. It's always very much appreciated. This has been Griever with your Behind the Bar reviews for 7 Deadly Sins, chapter 322. Drink responsibly as always. We'll see you back here next time.